So have you ever felt like you're at the helm of the Titanic? Or maybe the Titanic isn't your thing. Maybe you run aground like the Costa Concordia. Or maybe you're marooned with Gilligan. Whatever style of watercraft you happen to operate, there are a ton of great resources and training opportunities to help you captain your ship. Understanding the framing of your vessel is super important, and there are multiple aspects of a conservation district ship, right? You've got history, authority, general operations, human resources and supervision, financial, purchasing, contracting, on and on and on, partnering, relations, policy. There are many different aspects, many different spars in the frame of your vessel that are important. We're just going to walk through training, resources, and opportunities around each of these different pieces of operating your conservation district vessel. So first, history and authority, a little light reading, if you will. There's RCW 8908, the Conservation District Law, a really wonderful supervisor reference booklet currently available on the Commission website, as well as district operations briefs around conservation district powers and authorities, and always your district's policy manual. Just in case light reading might not quite be your cup of tea, there are some watch and learn opportunities. Showing on your screen now are a couple of different modules that have been available on the Commission's webpage for some time now for orientation purposes. The first one on the left covers overview, history, mission, and principles of conservation districts. It's a great initial primer around what a conservation district is and why they even exist. And then module 2 on the right goes a little deeper into governance and operations. It's going to help you understand some of the key pieces of that RCW 8908. But I want to ask all of you, what is the best history and authorities of CDs, training, or resource that you found out there? Drop your thoughts in the questions box. I'm going to harvest these over the course of our conversation here in the next hour, and I want to be able to share these back out with all of you. So if you've got a great history and authorities of districts training or resource that you found, please drop that in the questions box. On to general operations. Again, a little light reading. The Conservation Accountability and Performance Program from the Commission covers 15 accountability elements of general conservation district operations. You will find the full CAP guidelines available on the Commission's website. The Washington Municipal Ethics Act. This is important. You can Google this and read it pretty easily. There will also be some links provided in this presentation when it's posted up after Wade, so you can come back to it as a resource. And again, numerous district operations briefs published by the Commission can help you understand different aspects of your district's general operations needs and requirements. So I want to show you that web page. I've mentioned it a couple of times now. Go to scc.wa.gov. You're looking for the big button at the top that says Conservation District Resources. That'll bring you to this page that you see here, and over on the left, right up at the top, is Accountability, Operations, and Supervisor Training. I bookmarked this page. I work with my team and other Commission staff to put content on this page, but you'll find a number of little nuggets here Under operations is where you'll find more general operational items, but those orientation modules I just mentioned a moment ago, they're also found under the supervisor orientation that you can see on your screen there. If you haven't checked out this web page in a little while, I really suggest you go back and take a little drive around and see what's there. So here are some watch and learn opportunities around general operations. A couple of new recorded modules that we posted up last fall. The one on the left around risk management basics for district boards, and the one on the right, board governance and public official conduct. If you were able to join us at 11 a.m. this morning, we had a great conversation around district governance, and this module can help fill in some additional gaps or help you walk further down that journey of governance at your district if you take a look at that. More opportunities to watch and learn. You're going to want some popcorn with these. They're very factual, but just a little bit dry. So the Open Public Meetings Act and the Public Records Act, our Attorney General's office puts these out. They're actually available through YouTube. They're linked up on the Commission website. That's the easiest way to find them. They're pretty short, less than 20 minutes apiece, and they're actually required for board members and public records officers. But if you're the captain of a conservation district ship, you definitely want to take a look at these. They can help you avoid some common traps. What about some interactive training opportunities? There are numerous ways to get interactive training. It used to be you had to go to a classroom and sit in a classroom somewhere and be taught by an instructor. But now, with the wave of remote trainings being offered, you can really tap into these sources from your living room, your recliner, right? The Municipal Research Services Center, you'll hear that acronym MRSC used a lot. They put on a lot of live webinars and workshops, and they record them and then post them up later. So if you want to do training at 6 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock in the morning, you can do that by accessing their recorded webinars. There's a source out there that some of you may have heard of. It's called LocalGovU, and we'll look at a few screenshots of their lineup of offerings in a little bit. Great resource for training. And if you want to know the latest and greatest of what MRSC is offering, sign up for their In Focus local government newsletter. That'll keep you in the know about what's coming up on those webinars and workshops. So here we go, a little snapshot of the kinds of things that LocalGovU offers. Anything from presentation basics to enhancing work relationships, Finance 101, and a session on leadership versus management. I just pulled this very small selection out of their website. There's a lot more here, and you should be able to see that URL at the top of your screen. It will be in the recorded presentation in PowerPoint that gets posted up. So if you miss it right now, don't worry. You'll be able to grab that URL later on and take a look at what LocalGovU has to offer. So I'm going to turn it back to you again. What's the best general operations training or resource that you found? Any great class you took, maybe a great teacher, mentor, maybe it's a book you read or a pamphlet you found out there. What's that best general operations training or resource that you found? If you wouldn't mind dropping those things in the questions box, that would be excellent. Well, here's a meaty topic, human resources and supervision. We're going to start with watch and learn under human resources and supervision. And I just picked out a couple from the lineup offered by Endurus, your risk insurer for conservation districts. If you haven't been to their webpage, I really recommend you do. Lots of great information there. They run a supervisory skills series, and it's Building Supervisory Skills 101. There's also a 201 and a 301. So this is a series, but they restart this series about once a quarter throughout the year. So you get a chance frequently to catch these classes. The next one comes up towards the end of July. So if you're interested, you can go out to Endurus's website and register here pretty quick. But it's very foundational, will lead you through a lot of the nuts and bolts that you need to know. Also, MRSC often either partners with Endurus or other entities to host workshops on this topic as well. And the one I picked out to illustrate today is Building the Foundations of a Great Workplace Culture. You can see the little snippet there of what that particular webinar is all about. This is just a little piece of what both Endurus and MRSC offer around human resources and supervision. Even for those of us who've maybe been supervising people for many, many years, there's always a new tip, a new technique, a new method, a new skill that can help you really continue to build your cadre of how to work really well with direct reports. So I encourage you to take a look out there every once in a while and see what Endurus and MRSC can offer. We're going to go back to the local GovU for a minute here because I wanted to show some of the different types of courses that they offer around HR and supervision, conflict and dispute resolution, employee recognition, how to do that well, employee retention, how to keep those great and talented staff, generational differences. This is really common in the workplace today. Everyone's different. We're all from a different background, and those age differences can sometimes cause tension. How to work through that. Goal setting skills, interview skills for managers. Definitely a skill, doing a really well run and conducted interview with applicants. So local GovU, take a look. I also want to say, not necessarily only pointing you to local GovU or endorsing them as the only platform out there, but UW has some great courses as well, just not really tethered to a degree program or a certificate, but available. And this one I grabbed off of their site is Making the Move from Peer to Supervisor. So what happens when you're a conservation district staff person, you've got a bunch of colleagues that you work with, and the opening opens up for manager, and you apply for that, and oh my gosh, now you're the manager, you get that job. Now the dynamic is different between you and those colleagues that used to be your peers, but now you directly supervise them. That can be a challenging situation to navigate. So this course jumped out at me. I've been in that role myself in the past, and it could really help you travel that road a little smoother. So you can definitely check out UW as well. They've got some classes available for you. And these are all pretty short. They're not, a 6-month commitment or anything like that. Now, I think you've heard us at the Commission mention the Employee Assistance Program in the past. We've talked to you about that opportunity at a district. You can access numerous benefits by signing up. You do have to pay through a contract, but there are things on their website that are free and open to the public right now, this moment. And I grabbed a few of those here in this screenshot. Guides and resources, everything from grief and trauma toolkit to their supervisor frontline newsletters that have a wealth of information in them. You can sign up for those and access them via their website without having to necessarily pay that subscription. So if you were shying away from accessing this information a little bit in the past because you didn't want to, make the commitment and pay that subscription fee, there's still numerous things you can pull from that website that are free and open to the public. So Do check it out. There's some great stuff on there that can help you captain your ship. All right, I'm going to ask you all, you had to know it was coming, right? What is the best human resources or supervisory training that you found? Was there a great class that you took, a great book you found, a great website, a great source? Don't hesitate to drop those in the questions box. When we get to the end of our session today, I will pull all of those together and it will help inform future recommendations for training for you and all of your colleagues. So if there was anything great you found so far, human resources or supervisory, just drop that in the questions box. Let's move on to finances, purchasing, contracting. This is a big conglomerate of work. This is a lot squished in here. So I'm not going to be able to touch every aspect of finances or purchasing or contracting, but a little light reading to get you started. NACD puts out district guides. If you haven't run across them before on their webpage, go looking for them. They have a guide called Fun Ways to Fundraise and More Dollars for Your District. I thought that one was super valuable to pull out here. The Washington State Auditor's Office, they start with classes around the BARS manual, which is Budgeting, Accounting, and Reporting System, BARS. You'll hear that acronym an awful lot. But they also have a lot of other workshops and seminars that are peripheral to BARS. So keep up on them if you're new in district finances. And then back to MRSC again. They've got suggested guidelines on purchasing and contracting, but specific to conservation districts. So that's also posted on the Commission's website, but you can find it on MRSC's webpage too. And their small works roster could be very helpful. And finally, even taking a look at the Commission's grants procedure manual, there's a lot of information in there and we link to other places. So if you take a look at that, it just helps you get your feet under you a little bit. Maybe watching and learning is more your cup of tea than that light reading, right? So MRSC has a presentation coming up, Building a Foundation for Fiscal Oversight. So this is a webinar, no need to go anywhere in person. And the Commissioner's Office or the State Auditor's Office also has a couple of different little videos on fraud detection and deterrence, and recognizing and reporting different aspects of making sure that fraud has no place at all in your conservation district. And finally, one of our newly released modules at the Commission is around financial oversight. That one is for the board perspective. But if you're a manager managing a conservation district or even a mid-level manager at a district, that's super important for you to understand as well. So a few watch and learn opportunities there for you. Finally, interactive training. So the State Auditor's Office does a lot of workshops and webinars throughout the year. Keep an eye out for those. Also MRSC and the Washington Finance Officers Association. From time to time, we'll have a webinar or a workshop that sort of rises above just the auditor's office focus a little bit. So I take a peek at those from time to time. Okay, coming back at you now. What's the best finance, budgeting, grant writing, management, fundraising, training, or resource that you found in your work at a conservation district or in your work anywhere leading up to today? If there's a great resource you found, a great website, a great mentor, a great class, please drop that in the questions box. That would be amazing. And I want to thank everyone that's dropped information in there so far. There's a lot of wealth of knowledge coming in there. Really appreciate it. All right, let's move on. Partnering, relationships, communications. Again, there's a lot built into this topic. Sometimes I can be a little bit more of a lumper versus a splitter. So I was lumping here. For light reading, I'm going to point you back to NACD's district guides. They have one out called Establishing Relationships with Lawmakers. Great base information to understand, as well as tips for working with local media. And then don't forget about the Commission's marketing toolkit, a wealth of tools and information all posted up on our website. And the Center for Technical Development hosted just last month effective facilitation techniques for everyone. That was an interactive webinar workshop that was recorded and has been posted up on the CTD's website. So take a look there. That was a great workshop. If you got to participate in that with Ray Ledgerwood, the recording is up there for you to either refresh your memory or watch it for the first time. So what about watch and learn under this topic? Well, there's the Commission's orientation module number 3. That one focuses entirely on partnerships, available on our website. And Durst has a number of good workshops and webinars that they put on. This one I pulled out is Managing Challenging Conversations. Always useful, whether you're a conservation district ship captain or not. NACD did a webinar not too long ago, earlier this spring, tuning up your public speaking for conservation. This was able to harness the wisdom of the outgoing chief of NRCS, Matt Lohr, offered some great insight from his experiences in leadership roles. Now that's recorded and that's available on NACD's website. That's nacdnet.org. And all of the NACD urban and community conservation webinars. They often focus around the great things that different districts are doing across the country, and often there's a partnering or relationship component to some of that great work that's highlighted from other districts. So lots of wealth to be mined from NACD's urban and community conservation webinars. What about interactive training? What if you want to practice, if you want to role play, if you want to try something out? Well, there's the WADE conference. And I know it's more difficult this year because we're remote, but when we're able to get back in person again, we'll be able to sharpen some more of our skills around partnering, relationships, and communications. There's always a wealth of information shared around this at every WADE conference. I think you heard someone mention in our last session the Washington Dispute Resolution Centers. They do offer training. It's on a local dispute resolution center basis. So you have to look up your local dispute resolution center and check out what they offer locally. And if they don't have anything in their lineup that would be of value to you, you could even make a request. If enough different local entities are requesting training or assistance with something, they might just decide to go ahead and offer something to meet that need. And I also want to highlight a class that many of you may not have run across before. And the Governor's Office of Indian Affairs offers this class from time to time, and it's government to government training. I was able to go through this class, I want to say a couple of years ago now. It was very insightful. All the challenges and how to navigate them in many ways, working with tribal governments. At the time, it was an in-person class, and it doesn't look like they have one scheduled in a webinar format, but check back because I think they'll do that in-person class again, probably going into this fall and winter. I would highly recommend it. It was very insightful, and the speaker and the presenters that participated were really engaging. I learned an awful lot. So the Governor's Office of Indian Affairs. Okay, I'm going to ping you guys again. What is the best partnering, relationship, or communication training or resource that you found? And I'm going to give you a moment or two to drop those things in the questions box. I did see a question pop in there. How are you going to be able to see all of this wisdom that's being gathered up in the questions box? We can run through here and share them out to all of you if that would be the easiest way for you to harvest them, but they'll also be available in the recording too. So if you don't want to try to scribble them all down today, that's all right. They're going to be available in the recording, and those have been posted pretty quickly. Last year's recordings from Wade went up within a week following Wade. So in case you're wondering what your colleagues are sharing in that questions box, we're going to get those out to you. Don't worry. Make sure to put your best partnering, relationships, or communication training or resource that you've run across in your work in that questions box. Policy, 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 policy development, policy implementation. This is a little light reading, but before we get into the light reading, a little trivia here for all of you. I don't have any swag to give away, but who can tell me what county's courthouse is pictured here? Just drop that in the questions box. I challenge all of you to tell me. This is a Washington county. I didn't go across the country to grab this. Oh, good job, Bill Blake. You were the first one. This is the Jefferson County Courthouse in Port Townsend, one of my favorites. If you haven't had a chance to visit that yet, please do. Beautiful historical building. So policy development, implementation, always, always, always your district's policy manual. Know that thing inside and out. It is your book of business. There's the statute, the administrative code that applies to you, and then there's your policy manual. So always go there first. The commission has a great tips to engage elected officials available out there. And then I want you point you back to WACD's The Hub website. Tons and tons of information compiled there to help you with policy development and implementation. So a little light reading to get you started. But maybe watch and learn is more your cup of tea. So on the left there, I want to draw your attention back to those new commission recorded modules available. This one is around policy making for conservation district boards. These are all short recordings. They're pretty digestible and easy to watch. So I challenge you to take a look at that one as you're thinking about maybe developing policies for your district or policy statements on outside issues outside to your district. So here's another challenge for you. Where is that courthouse pictured on the right? What county is that? Reputed to be one of the oldest functioning courthouses in the state. If you have a guess about where that courthouse is located, just drop that in the questions box there. Good job, Corinda. You are absolutely correct. That's the Columbia County Courthouse in Dayton, Washington. So for some interactive training around policy development and implementation, interactive training, this is watching the process at work. This is really understanding how policy is made. I want to point you to WACD's website and the resolution process. We're going to be going into that season here pretty soon as the summer gets going, and WACD's area association meetings. Those usually happen every year in October. That's when resolutions that come up from the conservation district level are heard at an area meeting, heard and discussed, and they either pass or they don't. If they do pass, they go forward to the annual conference. And that happens every year, the week after Thanksgiving, where those are heard and discussed and debated at the state level. So I encourage you around policy development and implementation, to really watch the process at work and figure out how you interact in that process. Sometimes just watching can help you really get to know how that works. Through this particular is the WACD process. So what happens if your resolution at your district goes to the state meeting and it's passed and it's an issue of national importance, or you're calling for a change to national policy? Then that resolution moves up the chain even further to the National Association of Conservation Districts annual conference. And that happens every year, late January, early February. And resolutions from states all across the country are heard and debated and voted on at the national level. So we have a couple of districts at least attending us this afternoon that have drafted resolutions that have gone all the way to the national level and been adopted. And then that will drive NACD's efforts to change policy at the national level. So if you ever get a chance to go to the NACD conference and watch how that sausage making works, can really help build your knowledge around policy development and implementation. Okay, question back to you again. What's the best policy development or implementation training or resource that you found? What's that best thing? Maybe it was a mentor, maybe it was a class, maybe it was a book, maybe you heard a podcast. What's that best policy development or implementation training or resource that you found? And just drop those in the questions box. I see Alyssa, my most awesome co-organizer, is kicking those things out to all of you. So you'll be able to see them, but they'll also be in the recording as well. So if you're not able to spend the whole time with us today, you can come back and jot them down again. So adding those into the questions box, please. And I'm watching all of these wonderful suggestions and trainings and resources popping into that questions box. And there's so much more. There's so much more. What I've captured here today is just a snippet, a tiny little piece, the tip of the iceberg, if you will, of what's out there to help you build your knowledge, to help you captain your ship. So I'm going to highlight a few other things here. But of course, there's also everything coming in from your colleagues in the questions box as well. So for managers, especially conservation district elections, this is a big one. There's a lot to know there. It can be detailed, and just a basic understanding will help you. So there's a guide and also training webinars. We do those every year. Those are all posted up on the Commission's website. The Washington State Archives. You may not immediately think of them, but they manage all of the records retention schedules for all local government, state agencies across the state. They've got a lot of resources up there. And as a matter of fact, we've highlighted a few of their webinars in the District Digest that's published every month from the Commission. Great stuff there to help you manage your records at your conservation district. Then there's your regional manager team. All 5 of us. We all have great different strengths and weaknesses. So even if one of us doesn't know the answer to your question, we can always come back to our team. And I'm just about certain one of us will have a key piece of knowledge for you. So don't hesitate to reach out to your regional manager. And then there's your colleagues, all of the managers out there in the conservation districts who chances are sailed the ship you're sailing right now, have been through the same rough seas that you're facing, and have learned something from it. So don't hesitate to pick up the phone, call someone, and reach out to your fellow colleagues. WACD staff, Tom Salzer, Ryan Bay, super knowledgeable on all kinds of things under the sun. Tom has managed a conservation district in the past, so he's got some unique skill set like all of you. So don't hesitate to reach out to them. Also, the Center for Technical Development. You may have heard Nicole Embertson mention in the opening session earlier today that they're working on rolling out a monthly series called Building Better, aimed at offering up leadership and management resources and speakers and assistance on a variety of topics. So keep an eye out for that. I think you're going to see something hit the airwaves in July. So Center for Technical Development. If you've never seen the local working groups policy at NRCS, I encourage you to take a look at that. These are actual links on the screen, so when this presentation is posted, you'll be able to go back in there and follow this link. Most of you may or may not know, conservation districts are really in a driver's seat there. So if you're curious about that, take a look at that policy. It's not a crazy long document. The Dairy Nutrient Management Act, this doesn't necessarily touch all districts at the same level, but if you have dairies in your local district, then you're going to want to take a look at that and get familiar with it. A book I always recommend to folks who might be coming in new to the Conservation District family is The Worst Hard Time by Tim Egan. It's a really excellent book about the Dust Bowl and the survivors of the Dust Bowl. And then I'll also note the CRM task group. So CRM is Coordinated Resource Management, the task group. From time to time, they do have facilitators available if you're headed down the road of taking on a CRM structure around a local natural resource issue, but sometimes they sponsor trainings as well. So check that out. So you're probably feeling about now like you're drinking from this tugboat's fire hose, right? Wow, that was a lot of information. I wasn't able to jot everything down fast enough, or maybe the questions box is moving too fast, or I know there's a great place or a great book or a class, but I just can't think of it right now. That's okay. That's okay, right? This is sort of an opening conversation. There'll be much more to come, I'm sure. Don't worry if you feel like you're drinking from the fire hose right now. You are not alone. So going back, no matter what style of vessel that you're at the helm of, whether it's the sailboat or the yacht or I'm not even sure what that thing is over in the upper left-hand corner. That is the cutest little boat I've ever seen, right? Doesn't matter what style of vessel that you're at the helm of. Just remember, there are a ton of resources out there to help you navigate, right? Those life rings that you see on the screen are nearly endless. And one of the great things about the Conservation District family structure that we have is that you can help each other out, right? We can all help each other out by bringing information and resources and experiences to the table to help us all get through whatever it is we're facing at our local conservation district. So I want to leave you with this great photo because you too can enjoy sailing these beautiful calm seas if you have a knowledgeable captain at the helm, right? No matter what kind of vessel you're driving, you can be sailing beautiful calm seas like this with that information under your belt. So I hope that each of you take at least one thing away from this very high level overview of management and managers, training and resources, and try to take one new class or watch one new webinar or listen to one new podcast or maybe pick up that new book that was recommended in the questions box by your colleagues and tackle that this summer and add to your body of knowledge as a conservation district ship captain. So with that, I'm amazed at all the great things coming in the questions box. Really love to see that. Any questions that anyone might have, now's your chance. You can raise your hand or you can drop it in the questions box as well. We've got a little time here for Q&A or open discussion if anyone has anything they'd like to share.
No questions, just praise. Awesomely well done.
Well, thanks for that. Thank you, thank you. I'm just tickled at all of these wonderful things that came in to the questions box that we were able to then kick back out to all of you, just trying to recreate that great in-person chit-chat and sharing that we always get at Wade every year. And you can picture that we're in the nuthatch or the woodpecker or the grotto or wherever you want to recall from our prior Wades together. But this has been great. I see a lot of wonderful things coming in there. Books, different staff members. I've seen ag forestry program mentioned a couple of times. Excellent.
Hey, Shana?
Yes.
We've got a question here. How do you find a way not to be so jaded?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good
Yeah.
one. You know, it can hit us all from time to time, right? You sort of have a threshold at which you can absorb or overlook or get through or not let it get to you, right? It can roll off your back for a while, and then you kind of get to a point where you're like, I have had enough, right? We've all hit that spot where we're like, I'm going to simmer over. And I know I'm going to simmer over, and it probably won't be pretty, right? That's when you take leave. You may remember a great tip from Ray Ledgerwood, the break is your friend. The break is your friend. You have to take time to recharge your own batteries, to let some of that roll off your back, right? To think about things in a fresh way or a different way, or just let it go. And so when you're feeling that you're about to hit that wall, right? And you're like, wow, oh my gosh, everything's horrible. Nothing's going the right way. I just can't stand one more bureaucrat, whatever the case may be, right? The break is your friend. Don't forget to recharge your own batteries and to give yourself time to work through some of those things, because we all hit that. We all hit that. I'm wondering what others in our session this afternoon think about that. Do you have any ways not to be so jaded? Any suggestions in answer to that question? So raise your hand, use the chat box or the questions box, and we can get that shared back out. Great question. Tom, looks like you're self-muted now.
Hi, testing 1, 2, 3. Jaded.
You're good to go.
Oh my gosh, jaded. We all feel that. I mean, I just went through about a few weeks ago where you know what, work just sucked, and I'm not alone in that. So what I do is I have a group of conservation friends in Washington, in Oregon, in other states around the country, and I reach out and just say, hey, can you help lift me up, because I'm really struggling right now. And every single time they come to my aid and help me dig myself out of my hole. So that's my advice: is cultivate friendships and be there for them, and they'll be there for you.
Outstanding suggestion, Tom. Outstanding. Let's see. I see another hand up. Jennifer, you're self-muted now.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to add to the conversation about not being jaded. And I think Tom almost took the words out of my mouth. But I was going to say what helps me is taking a step away. Sometimes things get a little bit hard, right, in your own district, and getting into an event like this or seeing the bigger picture of the conservation family, I find that my batteries get recharged by being around folks like you all. And I come back feeling renewed and having the energy to handle things back at home a little bit better.
Great suggestion, Jennifer. Thank you so much. You see a few suggestions also popping into the questions box. You know, things like partner with others who you enjoy working with to increase work joy and work impact. stress relievers, such as, I'm not quite sure I can figure out that word, but we're listening to music. Look for a little fun in your day. It helps balance things out. You know, so many of us find a connection to natural resources and the outdoors. Often that's kind of what drew us into this body of work. And so get out, right? Enjoy the outdoors, whether it's mowing your grass or gardening or hiking a mountain, kayaking a lake. That can often just help bring us back around to, wow, I really do mostly love my job. And those times when I feel jaded, well, I can get past those, right? Another great comment here, go to a conference and learn that your problems aren't nearly as bad as others. That's a good one. I too enjoy that. Important to realize you're not alone. Yep, great suggestions all. So